Okay, welcome to the Brigitte Bartley Show. Happy Tuesday, everybody. First, I want to say thank you to Old Europe Pastries for sponsoring today's shows. Old Europe Pastries is European pastries and local roasted coffee. They are opening in Greenville in mid-May. I know you guys have met them, but they also have one in downtown Asheville. But stay tuned to our social media because I want to let you know when the grand opening is. But today on the show, I want to welcome Ryan Alford and Mike McAlvin. Some of you have seen them throughout the Greenville and the upstate, but just to give you some feedback of who these guys are, Ryan Alford is literally the guru of all marketing trades. He's the CEO of Radical Company, which is a marketing agency. He's the host of the Radical Company podcast and also the co-founder of Greenville Hustle, which you can see Matt has the Greenville Hustle hat on. And
Merch
Matt, yes,
plug. Shameless plug.
And then Matt is the social media manager, and he also manages the business development for Radical. So first of all, thank you guys for being on because I know how valuable your time is, especially the week of Greenville Fashion Week.
Hey, our pleasure. Excited to be here, and love the studio.
It's awesome setup.
Love the new show.
It's an honor to be on this side of the table from you guys because I've seen your space and where you guys operate from in Greenville, and it's a really impressive space where you do your podcast and the meeting space. It's just the whole vibe of it is just really cool. But so a lot of people have seen you around Greenville. How long have you guys been here with your Radical business?
So Radical is almost a year old. So it seems longer than that, but I've been in the marketing and agency business for 18 years. But Radical's 1 year old, roughly, come next month.
Okay, so I would think, because I just met you guys probably about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
I'd seen you for about 6 or 8 months, but came to the first Greenville Hustle event about 2 months ago. I would think that you guys had been here for years.
Yeah, well, that was intentional. I guess it helps when you're good at social media or you do it for other clients, But the irony in is that most social media agencies don't do their own social media very well, which has always blown me away. And so
that is true.
We know how to throw a good party too.
Yeah, you do. You do. And we're going to talk about the Greenville Hustle because, again, that's where I first met you guys. And so Radical, tell me a little bit about Radical and what that is because I know some people are still trying to figure out, like, what is Radical? What is a marketing agency? What is your ideal client type thing?
Yeah. Well, I started Radical about a year ago officially, but it's been kind of a brainchild for a number of years. I've worked at some of the largest agencies in the country, on some of the largest brands, and so have been fortunate enough to travel the country and work at these agencies and started right here at EP & Co., which was Irwin Penland back in the day in 2001. So definitely have a local vibe, but have been, fortunate to kind of learn from some of the best talent in the world, from a creative account management strategy side. And so with the rise of social media and marketing and PR in the last 5 to 7 years, it's certainly been around, but the ubiquitous nature of smartphones and what's happened there and high-speed ability, no matter where you are. Some people take that for granted, the power of video. Well, yeah, video's been around forever, but the ability for everyone and so many people to consume the quality of media that you can now on a smartphone every day is not something that's been around for 10 years. Yeah, you could send a video 10 years ago, but it would be really grainy and really terrible. But just in the last 5 to 7 years, like that ability to share content real time, whether that's messaging or social, has really changed the game. And I think I've been kind of gathering ideas for, what would make for a unique agency. And I think, blending that past history of seeing the power of storytelling, working on brands like Verizon Wireless and Denny's and others, the power of great branding and storytelling combined with the real-time ability of now social media, it kind of really built the foundation for what I saw as Radical and really being able to tell those stories in real time. And not a lot of large agencies, they've gotten better, but are not very nimble. That production timeline of, okay, we're going to take 2 months to shoot a 30-second television spot, those days are over.
Right.
And so, but the reality is a lot of agencies still are in that mindset, because you've got a lot of holdover talent. You've got a lot of people that have fought the ways of which smartphones have brought. They may not say it, they may not admit it, but the truth is they have. And I think old New York style agency stuff has really, I think, fought back at this notion of ideas really becoming to fruition so quickly. And so I started Radical with wanting to embrace the ability to storytell, the ability to develop content, but what I call it the speed of now, which is you've got to get on it. You've got to tell these stories. You've got to use the technologies and build a team that can tell these stories. And I think we've blended it into this kind of combination of digital marketing, brand storytelling, PR, and events into this conglomeration that's become Radical, and a lot of good teammates that have helped us get there quickly.
Yeah. So one of the books that I've read and followed over the years is by Donald Miller. It's the Story Brand book, and that's one of the things he talks about is telling your story, all about telling your story. So how did you come into the mix? Because when we first met a few months ago, and you're like, I know you, like we had met cyberly a couple of years, like I know you from
podcast geek.
So I was like, wait, what? So it was kind of cool how it all really comes full circle.
It does.
And we can go on a rabbit trail in Law of Attraction, but
Sure.
yeah, it was kind of cool how we had already kind of met.
Yeah. I knew of you. I found Brigitte on a podcast that she did with someone else through a network marketing channel, and I was also involved in network marketing at the time and still am, but the value that you brought, it was like I'd really like to meet this person in real life, because she's doing it.
You attracted me into your reality.
For sure.
You planted the seed, and
really
the universe picked it up, and 2 years later.
Yeah, now we're sitting here on the Brigitte Bartley show.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
But same thing with Radical.
Yeah, same thing with Radical. I studied social media for a long time, and I just wanted to do things different. I didn't want to have to go just the normal route. I wanted to do something that truly set me on fire. And just studying social media long enough, studying Greenville long enough, led me to finding, I guess, my geolocation, or whatever Radical was doing is working, because it attracted me. And I met Ryan at a GVL Hustle event that he invited me to, and we just went from there. Now I'm 6 months in, and we're having a lot of fun.
I'm still amazed the fact that it's only been here for a year, but to really talk about the GVL Hustle, which by the way is the last Tuesday of every month, and the next event, and I'll announce it again at the end, but it's at next Tuesday night, the 30th, at El Thrifty, which is now the new host of the GVL Hustle, which that's where I first met you guys. And I remember the first event that I went to is when Corey Kiefer was speaking. And I remember sitting there looking around at the number of like-minded entrepreneurs that were there. But it was a packed house. Yeah. And I was just in awe of how much influence and power were just under one roof. And it was really impressive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have like this magnetic something going on with GVL Hustle. What was your concept behind that? Because again, I've been to a couple. You have another one coming up, and you have a great lineup of speakers. What was your concept behind that?
Well, one of my neighbors is Tyler Harris, and Tyler and I have known each other for 10 plus years, and we've both been we're both from, Tyler moved here when he was like 5th grade or something like that, but for all intents and purposes, we're both Greenville natives. But we both had more what I would call national jobs. Like, we were out of the market. I was in New York. I was in Chicago for a while. He was around but traveling, a ton. And so our jobs kind of had us out of the market. And we both kind of got more centered. We ended up moving on the same street. And we just started talking, in a peer group setting, just about how do we find more people like us in Greenville now. Greenville's booming, mm-hmm. Everything's growing, but where are the like-minded people? And neither one of us had identified, networking groups or whatever. So we were like, let's start our own. And so we had this vision of it really started, you said it yourself, the like-minded, how do you get, it's not just one economic class, it's in the mind, not the wallet per se, of highly driven, motivated people that want to learn and grow with each other, combined with, hey, we're pretty modern guys. Our closets probably look better than the next. And so how do we provide a modern spin to like-minded people in a cool environment? Good music. So it's kind of like this notion of culture, community, and collaboration.
Right.
Those were kind of the 3 C's that kind of started it. And so we thought the best value we could bring is to get a speaker to come, to be the kind of that foundation of the event. So it's not just, walk in and grab some drink tickets and you're just doing the same thing everything else was. It was try to add that value, back to the group. So we brought in some heavy hitters. We know a lot of big names. We had Dan Walschmidt, who's an amazing guy. He has written a book called Edgy Conversations. Really gets paid 6 figures to go speak anywhere in the country. We had him. We've had a number of others. Rebecca Heiss, who's an amazing speaker, talked about the power of the brain. Again, these are people that get paid thousands and thousands of dollars to go hear. We had a really heavy lineup of speakers the first few months, Jonathan Parker, The Art of Conversation. Had heavy speakers to start, but then gave people on the front and the back end time to network and talk, combined with good music and a good environment. And it just started bringing, like you said, that magnetism of the like-minded started showing up. And I think the first event we had 30 or 40 people, or the second 50 or 60. And now we've been 100 plus since the last few months. And we've got an event next week with Jeremy Krause, and who's a local entrepreneur. So we're trying to bring both local and national guests, to keep that Greenville spirit, of course, but really just adding that value of hearing from someone talk about everything from, the power of the brain or personal development to how I started my business and some of the pitfalls and some of the opportunities and all of those things. But it's been, one of those things that's taken a life of its own. But, it's also been an offspin of Radical. I saw it for myself as a way to start to network for Radical and bringing in people. And it wasn't just to get business from, but it might just be to learn from, or, business type connections. And so it's kind of been,
You scratch your own itch.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the things several things that attracted me to it was building and promoting on social media for so many years. I was ready to get from behind the computer screen, and I got to a point where I was just craving human interaction, and that was one of the first events I had been to. But also being around like-minded people, and we were talking about this even before the show, is being with people who I felt like could get me. Is there's a drive, there's something about, Brendan Burchard talks about the high performance people. There's that, and I know you guys are the high performance people, where there's a drive that you have innately that not everybody understands. And it's not about the material things, it's not about the recognition, but you just love the game. And that was another thing that I love about the people that you are attracting at GVL Hustle. They're not pretentious people. Like, these are just real people. They are work hard, play hard. We do what we do because we love it. And just a culture exactly that you've created. And so from the outside looking in, that's how somebody like me and a lot of us have gone and have just loved being there. Speaking of, I'm gonna plug, because you've got the hat they have, which this was one of the first questions that I asked you guys, because I used to have clothing, and they actually have GVL Hustle. And then y'all even took it a step further, and you have your own clothing, which I'm totally gonna take a photo and tag and promote on that, because awesome. I'm loving the t-shirt. I love the green. Logan's already told me I could pair it with a cute blazer. She's already styled my outfit for me.
But I think that's back to like modern marketing. Like we wanted to create t-shirts that we like to wear, and a style that we like to wear, in an environment, and it also helps promote it. And so we're using the channels now, and merchandise has become such a different thing. I mean, everyone kind of owns their own merchandise companies now, like the beauty of Shopify,
right.
And different outlets. But I do think it's another way to show your culture and to obviously promote the business and the brand.
Yeah. So, Matt, I know that one of the things, because we were talking about this earlier, when you have new clients come in, what do you feel like is the top thing that holds people back in building on social media?
Probably just their lack of understanding about the true power that you're sitting on when it comes to social media, and the fact that the telephone, the smartphone, it's not going anywhere. It's the new TV. And yeah, it's a shift in mindset. The TV is now the radio, and the cell phone, it's where all of our eyes are at. So just trying to get people to understand and reshift their way of thinking, just educating ultimately, because it comes from an education standpoint. It's not that we think we might know more. We've just studied it a lot, and we spent a lot of time investing in it, and we're seeing the results for our clients, and they speak for themselves.
Do you think that some of the clients coming in, do you ever have any that have this mindset of like, well, what are they going to think about me? Or I don't want to put myself out there like that.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, everybody, the social media game is not built for everyone. And that's the biggest thing when you can deploy self-awareness.
That is true.
If you understand who you are, what your brand is, what your product, what your service is. I mean, there's some people who would much rather just have a product and just be in the shadows. They don't want to be the guy that has to, demonstrate or do product demos, or they just would rather have the product there and then just tell the story. But there's all a bunch of different ways to tell stories, and we just try positioning our clients and their products according to however they're most comfortable or however we feel that their story deserves to be told. That's how we build a strategy, and we build the ideas around those constraints.
So I've been able to really see you guys on the back end of it with Greenville Fashion Week, being at, the Model Mingle, the cocktail competition, a lot of these events that we've had. And so watching you guys and your crew come in and then seeing how you highlight after. I mean, you guys really do an awesome job highlighting. And then like the whole angles of the cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
The one guy you have, and he's got like this
the
camera.
gimbal, yeah.
It's like so fancy.
Yeah.
But that's modern storytelling.
I'm just
That's
like, how, and then like you're behind him, and it's just you
layered.
guys
It's
work
layers.
so well together. And then there's Ashley, and it's just how your team works. But then when I see you're there for say 2 hours, but then how you really refine it into 60 seconds. And tell me if I'm right or wrong. Do you feel like commercials are just going away, and like these 60-second things, like what you guys are doing, is just the new commercial now?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, look, it's still reach and frequency. Those are media terms. How can you reach the number of people that you need to reach, the number of times that you need them to see a message, to take an action? And I think for any given product, that's different. I do not think television is dead. I don't play that. I don't bang that drum. Some of my peers bang that drum. But the reality is, whether it's special events like the Super Bowl or other sporting events, there's still, if you need to reach, because the reality is not everyone takes a product action. So if you need to reach 200,000 people so that 5% of them take an action so that you can get to scale on your product, there's still only so many mediums with which to reach that scale. Yes, you can do it on Facebook, but that scale, the cost is higher. So, a 30-second spot on The Voice still reaches a lot of people. Now,
True.
my peers would argue that no one's paying attention to those commercials, and I might buy into that more, and I think that is some of the issue that's at hand. We're moving very quickly towards, this is the TV, and this is where the eyeballs are. I mean, we're there already at scale, but it's really more about the content. And I think what we have to inform clients about more than anything is back to that storytelling, and not the first thing that you want to do. And even old television commercials is product, or whatever I'm selling. They don't think they can do it enough. But we have clients that we have yet to, I think we're just now starting to talk, that, went viral and did certain things, which we can get into.
Oh, totally.
With Dr. C.
Yeah.
And, that's about storytelling, and that's about bringing characteristics, to life in a way that's different. And, his practice is doing pretty well, not talking about cavities.
Well, and that's the thing that you guys again do well at. But even with Dr. C or Rich Constantine, which by the way, I'm switching dentists, and I'm looking forward to trying him out. He's gonna whiten me up a little bit.
Oh yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
All things aside, he's a wonderful dentist.
Well, and I've met him several times, but even he's taught our cycle bar class, and I've met him through mutual friends. So I'm looking forward to trying him out. So like with him, I know you guys represent him, and he had a video go viral. I saw you because when I think you went with him to the Steve Harvey show.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I thought
Well, we lined that up, yeah, and that was part of what we do.
Right.
And so, what do you think made him go or helped him go viral with that? Because I'll share my opinion on it, but what do you?
Time and place helps. So like that dance challenge was already viral. The Drake challenge, the Shiggy challenge, In My Feelings challenge. It's got a million names, but that was already out there. So you have borrowed interest going on. That's when you already have something that has interest of the human mind in the space. So you have that going on. You align that so you've got the challenge going on and people are doing it and posting about it. So people are kind of absorbing that content and interested in that content already. Then you have the absolute curveball of a dentist, which is a very boring industry historically. No one likes going to the dentist typically. Like if we're being really honest, anxiety. So you've got that's just complete left turn, which I love left turns in marketing. And then we have a very good-looking man who's a hell of a dancer, and all of those things combine to what I call the secret sauce of viral that you can't you can think that you can try to go viral, but there's any agency that likes to say, we're the viral agency, we make clients go viral. BS.
Yeah.
Like, no. you can't.
You really
and I
can't
don't promote
plan
that
it.
today.
Right.
Like, I'll have clients, I've had clients, I mean, believe me, I get calls still, hey, we want to go viral. We heard you guys make people go viral. No, we know how to conceptualize stories, but that was just a time and a place. I mean, his girls at work are the ones that suggested it. They knew he could dance, and they saw it going viral, and they would suggest, and we counsel, and I was overseeing his social and stuff. And hell
You're like,
yeah,
well, we have to
should I do this?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you should do it. He did it and posted it, and my phone starts dinging. But why did it go viral? You had a lot of ingredients kind of coming together at perfect time. But at the same time, you have to have the courage and the knowledge to know when to take those chances.
Well, and that's similar to what I thought is it's outside the box. You would never, the average person wouldn't think a dentist to be nice looking, who could dance, who would put this out there. And that's where I feel like he's set apart as a doctor, is he's not your typical doctor that gets put in a box. And then two, one thing, documenting your life and your character and your personality versus just putting pictures of what dentist tools and this is what I can do for you. But Radical really expresses his personality. And that's what I was thinking.
And that's what we do more than anything. And not every client is Rich isn't comfortable in front of him. He's much better, and he understands it and appreciates it. And we started talking to you. I've been working and known Rich for a couple of years, way before the dance challenge. And from the get-go, we were talking radical, like how we weren't talking dancing because that wasn't like we had that forethought 2 years ago. There's a time and a place that presented itself. But we were talking, he had seen some of the video that I'd produced for another client. This was even before I started Radical. He saw the vision and the eye that I, have for more modern storytelling. And we produced a video like a month before the dance challenge. Beautiful, good-looking video, way different than any dentist video I'd ever done. And we had already just started to promote it, and it was doing pretty well. But it wasn't the dance challenge.
Yeah.
And so since then, they were like, it was funny watching, people go back and, oh, wow, look at what he's already doing. Like since then, that video's gotten like 500,000 views because of the dance challenge, But back to like the personal storytelling, if I tell clients now, small, medium, large, if they are comfortable, I want them in front of the camera telling them, because that's like option one. If we can get them, if they're comfortable, they don't have to. We don't have to go there. There's other ways, like Matt was saying. But my preference, and I don't even mind calling it the secret sauce of Radical, is getting people comfortable with, telling that story and being more vulnerable, because people want to do business with people, not with products or services.
Well, that's exactly one of the things that and since you've known me for a while and you've followed my social media and we've been connected, is from the beginning is I never wanted to sell a product. I knew it was important to brand myself because I realized early on people are buying me more than the product.
Exactly.
And there's been times people have purchased and enrolled with me. They didn't even know they were getting a brown box in the mail. They had no idea. They didn't know.
Yep.
And so when people want to start branding themselves, because I know with you working closer with, I know you work with the clients, but you work with the clients too. When they want to brand themselves, what are some tips that you would offer? Because I know with both of us being in network marketing and then our other businesses too.
I think coming from a place of transparency and authenticity. I mean, be who you are and just be the best version of yourself in the digital realm and in the real realm, because you are who you are. And there's a lot of people on Instagram, a lot of people on social media who aren't who they are. They're not nice people. They're not going out in the community and being involved. They're just self-servient or self-motivated. And you find a lot of people who are like that nowadays. And unfortunately, we've done it to ourselves. And it's kind of an awakening period to realize, oh, maybe we've been doing this social thing a little bit wrong, and we need to kind of rethink where it's going and how you tell your own story and be yourself. So being yourself in any situation is going to be the best thing you can do, because, like you said, people buy you, and they buy what you have and how you show up in the world.
That's where I feel like the importance of video is so priority now, is because I feel like I can show up one way in a photo, but then my mouth opens and the voice and the accent is kind of a curveball. But then the personality comes. I know I'm expressive when I talk. My eyebrows go crazy, but it doesn't show on a still photo the way it does on video. And then, I know you do a lot of stories, but it's documenting life. And listen, there's a part of me, I would love to just log off social media and disconnect. But then there's a part of me, I know that I have enough of my stories that make up my story that it's just, I feel like, on the mindset track, I feel like we learn the lessons we're supposed to teach.
For sure.
But I think if you're not selling anything, or you just aren't comfortable with it, Matt said this, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know what? If you own your own business, or if you work for someone and you want them to want to do business with you, the days of shallow salesmanship are over.
Right.
It's just not working. People know when they're being marketed to. They know when they're being advertised to. And that's on the personal level and the larger brand level. Like shove a price point in my face in a product, or, a sales pitch. I made a post this morning on LinkedIn. I was like, what's the ratio of buyers to sellers on LinkedIn? The sellers are beating them 100 to 1,
Right.
And it's because people, I'm exhausted, like getting on my LinkedIn messaging recently, how many people are selling me. And I own an agency, I should be selling them.
Right.
But I think, but if you want to be selling, or you have a product or service, or you want people to do business with you, then you need to be willing to show some of that transparent side. It doesn't mean you have to show your kids at the soccer game, but show behind the scenes at your dry cleaners, or whatever you're doing, what happens in the day-to-day life. People want to see that.
That's true.
They want to see that side, the good, bad, and the ugly. It's not all about, the bougie lifestyle and headed to Venice tomorrow.
I know, right?
Or posting
What
up next
shoes to wear?
Posting up next to a Lamborghini that you rented just for 7 hours, and you take a couple cool pictures, and you get the job done, and you reach the people who are affected by Lamborghinis, I guess. But that's all. It's just it's just fodder.
Yes, I agree.
But if you're a scumbag, this strategy does not work.
Well, and
because you'll get called out in a hurry.
I agree. And Gary
Outrage
Vee
culture.
talks about, I mean, the fake people only make it so long and
Yeah.
then they come to an end. I was reading some stuff from him this weekend and he was talking about that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, I feel like now we're making a shift where everything was social media for so long and then now we're going full circle
pendulum
to
swings.
events.
Yep.
And, you know, how we built our business 8 years ago, it shifted and now we're back full circle again to events and one-on-ones and coffee meetings.
People are craving
and
for
that sort of thing.
connectivity. I mean, people are craving these conversations move the needle for all of us. My
Mm-hmm.
day will be dramatically better because I invested in this authentic, real time conversation with, you know, some really, really smart, sharp individuals. Like, it's just going to make my day better.
Right.
So I leave GVL Hustle filled up because I don't get to spend time with news anchors and I don't get to hear what Ted Phaeton's been up to or what, you know, Philip Sessions has been up to. It's cool to get a nice broad array of intellect and knowledge from some really cool people.
Right.
Because we all have something to learn from everyone.
Well, and two, it's like not just everybody, but certain people. And it goes back into the like-minded and,
Absolutely.
you know, that could go down the rabbit trail of like spirituality to like whether they're energy vampires or iron sharpens iron type things. So.
For sure. Yeah.
And that's been interesting. And that was another one in GVO Hustle is like Tyler and I are both very social and, you know, Tyler's got a huge following but it's, you know, online and we get the DM and I get DMs all day and Tyler gets DMs all day, like from people asking things, but it's online based. And that was back to GVO Hustle, bringing it back to that community side of, you know, real world
Right.
conversations, you know, and it is funny though. You talk about the like-minded and you know, I think about some of the people that have come, like I'm not going to name any names, but like some of my past associates and friends that showed up to a few of these events that only showed up to one. And I know why they haven't come back, you know, because it's not for them. And I'm glad they're not back
Right.
because it's not, it's too real and transparent, you know, and that's just not for everyone. And that's not because we have it all figured out, but it's because I think people come and they're seeing that, you know, and it's breeding more of that than just, I don't know, the same old.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it as something different. Whenever I see anything that is different, I'm immediately interested because there wasn't another vehicle for me to go and meet the people that I felt were going to get me to a place that I wanted to be because I saw it with my own eyes. I said, this place, I don't know why, I don't know how, but I've been back and forth now studying Greenville, trying to figure out what my next move is. Do I want to go work for BMW? Do I want to go work for Michelin? Do I want to go try some medical sales route again? And I had all those options on the table, and it's like, do something different. Listen to this feeling that you're feeling, and just walk where you can't see. And yeah, now I'm sitting here, and it's
Radical is going to make that Fortune 500 list of Michelin and BMW any day now.
yeah.
So basically, it's intuition, and I know you've got a good spiritual foundation, but that's where I feel like a lot of people hold themselves back is because they keep themselves in fear. They don't listen to the intuition. For me, I mean, when I started 2 years ago doing Facebook Lives, interviewing people, I just wanted to highlight people's stories,
For sure.
and that's how this started. Is because then, you know, when the producer saw it, he presented an opportunity. And had I not listened to the intuition of just start doing Facebook Lives and interview people, and then it led to this. But I feel like people never know what's in store for them if they don't follow those baby steps.
Yeah.
So could you imagine had you not listened to your intuition?
I don't know where I'd be right now. I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably be
Miserable?
I don't know, maybe not miserable, but I'd be right where I was supposed to be, and that's why I feel my feet are planted firmly, like underneath me. And yeah, I'm being in the present moment is something that I think we lose on social media, but returning to the present moment, turning your phone off, you know, when there are those moments, like it was Easter weekend, and I wasn't heavily invested in my phone this weekend just because I wanted to have reverence around my family and really soak up some moments. So yeah, I think returning to just a more wholesome education about technology and just understanding that it's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just a tool that helps us navigate and with our businesses, with our professional careers. It's just you can use it, and yeah, it's a tool in your tool belt.
That's true. That's a great reference to say it's a tool in your tool belt, because I know a lot of times people can get sucked up with this.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of it many a times, but
Yep.
I've gotten a little better. Gotten a little better on that. So let's talk about the social media platforms, because you're talking about LinkedIn. So between Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, I don't even know if Twitter is even still.
It's still a thing for journalists.
So
And arguing
arguing
professors.
people on NBA basketball games.
yeah.
Yeah.
So between Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, what is your take on each of those? Because I feel like they're all completely different platforms and markets.
Yeah. I'll start with, so Facebook is still a behemoth. Like people are moving more and more off Facebook onto Instagram.
Right.
I see it in my own circles. I've done it. I'm pretty much 9 to. I probably if there was like a pie graph here on our screen, it's like probably 8 would be in Instagram, 1 would be in LinkedIn, and 1 would be in Facebook. LinkedIn is going higher, and maybe taking a little bit of Instagram. Facebook can't go lower, but that's just me personally.
Right.
I still look. Facebook is extremely powerful still. People are still checking their news feed every day.
Yep.
Even if they're over the volume of ad content, it's still, the scale there is incredible. We run a ton of ads there for our clients, and it's because there's scale and reach. And, I still feel like it's the medium with which people are telling more context to their life than maybe an image can for Instagram.
Right.
But man, it's gotten real political, and
Right.
some of that stuff just turns me off personally. But I still think you've got the news feed, which is kind of like going through the TV stations, like
Right,
flipping
right.
through the clicker. Instagram is, I think, the behemoth right now. I think, I know that the scale's tipping when my mom is DMing me on Instagram now.
All the gifts
So
and
my
all the
mom,
emojis.
Oh, no.
yesterday with the Easter photos, my mom's DMing me how much she liked them, and so I'm like, all right, we're reaching critical mass now scale on Instagram. It was the same thing on Facebook like 10 years ago when mom started messaging on Facebook, but now on Instagram, there's something about it that's, I think, it may be becoming but right now I think it's still digestible for people. The image, they may or may not read the caption. It's just, I think, a little lighter on the brain, and on the scale of pulling me into 100 things. I can absorb the images, I can get a message, and I can move on. And the same thing with video. But it is the behemoth right now. It is where a ton of attention's at. I'm still not sure if IGTV is going to be the biggest thing ever or not. Longer
Right.
format
Maybe
video.
Yeah, YouTube. I think
It's
it's a YouTube
YouTube
play.
is still
Yeah.
the play there.
Yeah.
And that's one I would probably throw in to the mix, which is maybe not what people consider social, but more I think of as content,
Consumer,
content, absorption and
Archive.
Yeah.
yeah, but the power of Instagram is huge right now, and I think like other peers you've talked about, like, would say caution that well, what's the next thing and all that. I'm one of those. I'm more maybe pragmatic in the fact that I am all about when something's big, make as much out of it as you can. And so I'm all in with Instagram with both my personal content, radicals, clients, because it's working.
Right.
And it's where the eyeballs are at. LinkedIn, I hear all this, again, the peers talking about organic reach is being great. I think that is true, and just from a marketing standpoint, what does that mean? It means that without paying, then the people that follow you are seeing your content. I could get more specific, and on LinkedIn or Facebook and Instagram, the argument now is you do have to pay to play. Just because I have 20-something thousand followers on Instagram, but I'll post, not everyone sees it Because Instagram, if the algorithm's not right, they might show it to 200 people or 2,000 people.
Right.
And, it's always a mix of that. The argument now with LinkedIn is I have 2,000 followers or likes or whatever, or network connections on LinkedIn, and 1,500 of them are, if they've logged in that day, will see your content.
Right.
That organic reach is supposedly still amazing.
Community's still building.
But, and I do like it, though the turnoff for me right now is like what I said about posting earlier, is the sales, the high, because people think of it as a business platform.
All the automated messaging.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard selling still going on, which is fine because it is business, but I like that it's headed more towards the storytelling avenue with videos and content. I think people are building. I think as the platform grows bigger, the range of talent of content storytellers is going up.
Right.
And so you're seeing that content improve. And so I am definitely, if you call it a tasting menu, I'm tasting heavier in LinkedIn right now for a lot of our different clients, and seeing what's there. We're doing a lot with the ad tools within the platform. That's a whole nother avenue. We talk about all this pretty content. There's a side of Radical, like we buy. We're probably one of the largest digital media buyers in the upstate of South Carolina for a subset of clients that you don't even know we work with. That's my geeking out side. We got the pretty fun content side and the geeking out digital marketing side.
In the corner.
but yeah, I think Facebook, they're losing a lot of users though. A lot of people are scaling. They are. People are just going off the platform. That's a real problem. But it's still huge. So
yeah, and Snapchat,
I don't know if that was the cliff notes.
Still like a younger, playful, more college, high school, maybe middle school. I don't use it all that much anymore. But
I've been dabbling with TikTok, but it's really young. I want to like it because I get it, and I'm not ignoring it. And if we took on a client that was, and we have some in the beauty and fashion realm, so I'm trying to pay attention there. But some of the beauty brands we're working with maybe skew more middle-aged. And so, but if we had like a really up-and-coming, teen beauty brand come on, I would be all about TikTok and doing, because I think organic and the reach there, it's actually a really pretty cool platform for video, and the engagements are really high. But, I don't know if that was a Cliff Notes version or not. But
No.
I think what you're seeing on LinkedIn is the Instagramification of LinkedIn. I mean, they're adding all these tools and all these little stickers that you can add, and they're trying to make it more interactive and less regimented and structured, but also revolving it around the fact that this is a professional community, but they're making it fun. They're making people in my age group, I'm 25, making us want to hang out there more. It's it's just a different door that you open to go hang out with a different community of people and discuss different ideas. And
LinkedIn video does well on LinkedIn, because when I talk to people about using LinkedIn, I'll give them a visualization of, it's just like walking into a boardroom at the chamber. These are men, corporate women, and they're used to seeing all these articles and business posts, but then they look in the news feed and there's a video of, a 30-second video of somebody talking about skincare or energy or performance or nutrition.
Platform, ultimately.
Right. And so I think the people like that show up in the news feed that are different, those are the ones that are doing well.
There's some viral stars on LinkedIn, people who are have massive followings.
Like VPX Sports, Dang Energy CEO Jack. I'm going to forget your name, Jack. But Jack and I have messaged a few times about
he's all over the
ideas,
place.
but he's all over LinkedIn.
He's on it. I mean, there's some funny, there's some humor, sales, sales bro, or there's people who poke fun at and make light of corporate sales scenarios and just the office humor, but it's being displayed on a professional platform, which is LinkedIn, and it's respected because there's a lot of people there that can relate to the jokes or whatever's presented.
Well, it's just, I feel like when people are sitting in an office all day and that's their entertainment, then...
And it's, I don't think it's probably frowned upon going on LinkedIn during office hours. It's probably more... it's probably more accepted, and that's where people are hanging out during their 9 to 5, and then they hop on Instagram afterwards, or they're hopping on Instagram regardless. But yeah, Instagram's and LinkedIn, I think they're running parallels, but just different means.
One's mainstream,
Yeah.
one's more business, but becoming, but
Yeah.
but LinkedIn's becoming more. It's
Yeah.
blending more towards the middle.
Yeah.
They're trying.
They're
They're
trying.
trying.
Yeah, they're trying.
And that was actually, so we had a few questions that came in when I did an Instagram questionnaire in
Yeah.
the stories. And that was one of the questions that actually somebody had is, what was your favorite social media platform? I think you answered that already, which was Instagram.
Yeah, it's the most effective.
My
for
favorite
me,
was
so.
Vine. I miss
Oh,
Vine.
yes,
Yeah.
Vine.
That was a lot of fun. That was a college, like, just a little blip of time, but
It's like Periscope. It
Yeah,
came and
came and went.
left, and
they stole, like, the other platforms stole. So Instagram, when you go live on Instagram, you have the Periscope heart feature. So they took the heart feature and just integrated it on Instagram, but Periscope.
But I mean, I'm partially ADD, and I think the Instagram's like this perfect mix, so I can take the amount of
good blend.
content,
Right.
and like in Facebook, I just get like another space, like like too much.
Yeah.
it is. I can totally see. Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's so weird that we all have like an unspoken understanding that Facebook is what Facebook is, and we all circle back and understand that there's
Because people knock it, and yes, people are leaving it, but I know just intuitively that people are still checking their
for
feeds.
sure. For sure.
And so that's why I will still spend a lot of money,
Absolutely.
or a lot of my clients' money on advertising there, because it still works.
You know they're looking at their feeds when you see somebody you haven't seen in a year, and then when you see them out in public, and they recap your year of how you were on vacation and
Yeah,
how
they
you
keep up
opened
with you.
Radical, but
Yeah.
they've never liked or commented a post.
Oh, yes.
That's how you know.
Believe me, I think I told Matt this, because I get a lot of likes and some commentary, some not. Some posts I get 30 comments and some get one, and thousands of likes. But I run into people, like 10 people a week, that will talk about some content, or like a wine tasting that I did or something, and I'm like, I don't know them,
You didn't get
and
any
they will
feedback.
mention it, and they
Yeah.
didn't get any feedback. And like, you're watching it, I know you
I
are.
had that happen last week. I didn't even. I really had never met the girl, and then she was telling me my whole life story. And I
Yeah.
was like,
I mean, people
All
tune
right.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's an awareness. It's an awareness check.
Yeah.
That the people that you don't realize are watching, which is a positive thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this wine for a second, because that was one of the things I see you with wine. I think that's your correlation originally with Gary Vee.
Yep.
But wine also going into the nutrition, because we were talking about that earlier. What's your whole thing with wine? You just love wine?
So I went to Clemson, and when I was at Clemson, I waited tables at a restaurant called Pixie and Bill's, one of the nicer restaurants in the Clemson area. And one of the owners turned me on to wine, George Carranzas. He still owns, it was George and Nick. Nick passed away a few years ago, but the whole family, the Carranzas family. But I kind of got turned on to wine there because they had nice wine, fine wine, and I wasn't even really into wine. But would sit at the bar, like especially my senior year, was old enough, wasn't underage drinking at the restaurant. So would sit there and have nice wine because it was a nice restaurant that had different ones. So that turned me on to it, and then I just started collecting from there. And in the early 2000s is when Gary Vee started doing, Wine Library TV, which is like a YouTube show. And so a lot of people know Gary Vee from personal development, all the stuff he's doing now. He owns an ad agency now, the irony. But I just started watching that, and that was just like kind of my vibe, because I was, a millennial of that nature, I guess. Am I a millennial if I was that young then, or is it just now Gen X, whatever? But in my 20s, and was collecting wine and loved his style because it was very exuberant and all that, doing wine tasting. I was like, I could relate, because he's a little bit more, wasn't hoity-toity.
Very interesting.
And
It
take
makes-
on it.
Yeah.
And so I started collecting, and, when I was 22, I might buy a $50 bottle, and that was wow,
Grail.
and not that that's cheap now, but
Yeah.
that was a big deal when you're
Oh, yeah.
23, and not making a lot of money, but would buy that and put it down in a closet somewhere. And now, we probably have 400 or 500 bottles in our cellar in our
Nice.
basement. That's may or may not be a cellar, but it's temperature controlled, and there's a lot of wine racks. So every house we've lived in is like, it gets, the
Nice.
process of moving the
wine.
wine is
What about the
about
wine?
Yeah, I have to manually do that myself. I don't trust the moving companies to do that.
Yeah.
But
okay.
yeah, I just got into it. It was a hobby, and I love tasting and drinking wine and collecting.
So because you're all about a story,
Yeah.
I can totally see a private wine label
Yes,
coming
it's been talked about.
from you.
Yes, it has been.
I want to
So,
come to the tasting party. So does Logan. Logan loves wine. Well,
You guys will be in.
as long as it's not in May, because it's
Yes.
mocktail May for her.
Mocktail
Yeah.
May.
So we do a little feature called Secret Wine Tasting. I'm actually going to be, the new Wine House is a new store on Haywood Road. Nathan
I've seen that.
Luganville, or not Luganville, that's the answer, but might be Luganville. Nathan, anyway, friend, been talking with him, so we're probably going to do the next episode there. So it's been periodic. We try to do it every week, but sometimes business and clients they always come ahead. But
We have fun.
But when you can mix the two,
yes, we can mix
it's
the
always
two.
a win.
So
I've learned a lot about wine too, just in the 6 months that I've worked with Ryan. I mean, just being around somebody who knows what they're talking about and knows the different flavors and different profiles. It's been cool developing just a more educated palate. So I really enjoy it now too. And I've actually purchased some wine recently from Wine Library. I've got some cool.
some of the largest wineries in California now follow me, and so the goal is for Radical to have a few wine clients eventually. So
I could totally see that. So when I go to California, because all my family's in California, when I go, I always visit a few wineries. I make a day to do a wine tour, and it's such an art, and there
Yeah.
really is a lot that goes into it. I feel like when you go to a winery, you have a different appreciation for the actual
Yeah.
wine.
yeah, that artistry is definitely part of the interest for me. Is like what goes into it, and the component of the ground and the earth, and how much that plays into it, and how much any given year the variation from the climate and the soil. So like all that fascinates me, and knowing that you're drinking something that is natural in its own
Yeah.
way.
And it's good that you have a hobby. I know that balance is important because you guys are both hustlers and you work hard. So it's good that you have that balance. So a couple of questions just to finish out. We had, like I said, some that came in through social media. Somebody asked, and this is very basic, how do I build my brand? And that could go a long way. But just in the beginning for a new entrepreneur, what would you suggest? Or maybe it's just a book to read or...
There's so many ways you can go with this depending on personal brand, a product or a service. I start with writing down where do you want to be. And so whether that's a product or a service or you personally, start with the goal. Like, where do you see this going? What do you, where, create that vision and, start writing it down. And then from there, it's really building. There's certain standards that come with any brand. Like I am kind of a brand guy in that colors, sound, brand logo. Like I go into that space. I mean, that's very tactical, but I think that consistency of message. Like every post I do has like my logo, my RA logo in it, and all that, because that's like they know that's associated with me. But I think those things are important. So brand, colors, perspective, but it goes back to those goals. And I think if you're talking, I always go down the personal brand route since that's so wide open. And if it's a person asking, I would ask them. It's create themes. It's like for me, mine's positivity. Mine's, some type of work, my work and, talking about those things are. It's wine and then, that positivity. And so those, create themes, create standards, but have an end game and have the goals of where you're wanting to be. And I think a lot of the tenets will come out of that. But, telling stories that build up to all of those things are what's ultimately going to be your brand and your persona, especially with personal branding. Business, I could go a lot of different routes depending on what the business is, but...
I mean, I think there's a post that Gary posted on LinkedIn that I saw last week. It was talking about McDonald's Google Facebook, all these massive things that we just take as, oh, these are these that we know that they look like this and they operate like this, but they haven't always been there. Like, we see the golden arches, and they've just built the brand of McDonald's just in an incredible way. They have that attention and they have that awareness in the market. So, yeah, anybody can achieve it, though. It's just about, over time, how long you show up and how long you tell your story, and if you find enough people that jive with what you're doing, it's
I think
it's
the key word that you just said is time.
Time.
Sales overnight, brand over time. And it's because you got to make sales every day.
Right.
And whatever those are, but you build your brand over time. People, we've gotten so, the smartphone hasn't helped. We want everything tomorrow. And, well, I want my brand tomorrow. Well, your brand's not going to mean anything to anyone tomorrow because you haven't made it mean anything to them. And so time is a big important time, but consistency of message, collection of words, and that manifests itself with Nike. Just do it. Like it might be a tagline, but there could be other ideas and other manifestations of your brand, but it's still about back to reach and frequency,
right?
Frequency and consistency.
I find it fascinating. Champion is doing what Champion's doing. I mean, not to say that Champion was a lesser brand, but they're like leading in the fashion world. Like they're a front runner now in the fashion game.
But they just drew a line in the sand and said, "We're going to do this.
We're going to stand for this, and this is what we're going to be." And I mean, is Starter next? Is Tony Romo going to take Starter? Like, you don't know what the market is going to truly cling to right now. Everybody's just wanting to be different and wanting to get outside of the box and act like the box isn't even there. I think that's the best way to go about just having the ability to steer and understand how to position yourself right now. It's the best way to get your message and what you want done across.
And just go. Just do.
Just take
action. That's the biggest problem is ego and your own self, keeping you from starting or
the judgment of others. Put it all to the side. Who else is going to do it except for you? Or just make those decisions and be firm in them and know whatever consequences stand based on them, that you have to make a decision. You can't be lukewarm. You got to be hot or cold.
That's so true. That's so true. And you nailed it when you were talking about just being yourself and being authentic. That really is your brand.
Yeah.
Because when you're yourself and you're authentic, you have a story. We all have a story. And when you can put it out there, that's your brand. One of the analogies that I use with my team is the bicycle wheel with 5 spokes. And for the wheel to stay balanced, it has to have all 5 spokes. And so I'll have them write out 5 things that represent them. So whether it's faith, fitness, spirituality, your children,
your non-negotiables,
and balance your social media with those 5 things. That way it's not always a before and after photo or a shake or, whatever. It's not juice every day. It's, balance those 5 things out. And that's your brand, and that's it. Okay, well, I want to thank you guys both for being here. We could probably talk for hours on this.
I know we could.
Because there's still so much stuff that I wanted to get from you guys. But I did want to remind you guys, you can follow actually both Ryan and Matt. They're tagged on my social media, on my Instagram. Definitely worth a follow because you guys both put out great content. And then GVL Hustle as well. I'll tag them on my Instagram post. And then GVL Hustle is next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, El Thrifty.
Yep.
And then if you guys, anybody who's a part of Greenville Fashion Week, you will see this whole crew working media and capturing all those great moments.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun week for sure.
It is. Yep. We're excited.
All right. And thank you for Old Europe Pastries for sponsoring today's show. Y'all have an awesome Tuesday. Oh, wait, we have to draw. Last thing. Thank you, Logan. Okay, so we're going to do a drawing for 2 premiere party tickets to be guests of Greenville Maserati. So these were all the people who purchased tickets. this past weekend for Greenville Fashion Week. And so mix it up, and whoever's
names in
name
here.
he draws will win 2 free tickets to the premiere party for Greenville Fashion Week.
Here we go. Drum roll. Drum
Greenville
roll,
Maserati.
please.
Wanda Dixon.
Wanda Dixon.
Congratulations.
Awesome. So I see her numbers on there. So
We won't
Wanda,
read your name, Wanda, out online.
dare you. Wanda, I will be in touch with you in Maserati to have your tickets, and I will see you Thursday night at the premiere party. Thank you, Logan.
See you there.
All right, y'all have an awesome Thursday. Oh,
See ya.
Tuesday.
Take care.
Have an awesome Tuesday. No, Monday.